May I come in, sir?
Get into.
Good
Please,
afternoon, sir.
Animesh, please come. Have
Good
a
afternoon,
seat.
sir. Good afternoon, sir.
You are going to do the briefing.
Thank you, sir.
Have a seat.
Thank you, sir.
Animesh, you've got a very, very elaborate and a very exciting hobbies and scholarships and medals. Tell me a bit only about this.
Right, sir. So, in terms of achievements, I have always been academically inclined. But apart from that, I have taken time to indulge in a lot of extracurricular activities. I've always been an avid debater, both in my school and college days. And in college, I was a part of a debating society. So I used to go to various institutes for parliamentary debating.
Institutional.
Correct, sir. And I used to practice in both Asian and British form of parliamentary debates. And apart from that, since I come from a computer science background as well, so later on, after joining Indian Oil Corporation, I've taken interests in other conferences dealing with AI and machine learning. Apart from that, I had always been passionate about media and journalism. So in college, I was first a journalist and then the head of the student media body at NIT Rourkela, which is called Monday Morning.
Okay.
And yes, sir.
Hey, anything
And
else?
in Indian Oil, then also, since I come from a tech background at Indian Oil, a lot of people are unaware.
Tell me one of the most exciting topics on which you debated.
Second thing, one in
I'll
which.
tell you in my case.
Okay, sir.
This house believes in the dark side of the moon.
Okay. This seems interesting, sir.
Eh?
It is.
And what was my interpretation? The dark side of the moon at that time, the satellite loses communication.
Correct.
So this house believes in non-communication.
Okay, that's a good narrative to
Okay,
put.
now tell me your most exciting debate topic.
So I think what I can recollect now, there's one in Chanakya National Law University in Patna where we lost, but we thought we should have won, is that the house believes that the person in their terminal illness, while they're going through that, they should be aware how many months or days they are left with beforehand. So the house believes
to be quite a gory topic.
it was, yeah.
Do you believe in passive euthanasia?
To an extent, I believe that the form of passive euthanasia that we have currently is justified to an extent, where it's not, it's given after due diligence and considering other factors into perspectives. I think passive euthanasia is justified, sir.
Media. There is a statement of the Chief Justice of India, speaking in a very high level meeting, that civil liberties of an individual are in danger because of the internet and social media. Now, since you are so much of a proponent of media, I would like to hear your views on it. Civil liberties are very much in danger because of the increased incursion of internet and social media.
I agree to an extent to which Chief Justice of India might be referring to, but I have a slightly differing opinion to that. I believe that with the accessibility of internet-based media, the civil liberties have become more profound rather than have curtailed. Censorship and regulation of media has always been a controversial issue. But starting from Ramesh Thapar case to recent judgments by Supreme Court, we have seen that Indian media has their free space, and although some amount of regulation has to be there with social media, fake news and infodemics, but I don't believe civil liberties.
Any recent law or laws which affects this category?
So the recent telecom regulation bill, which was passed recently in this session of Parliament, has a clause in which the government can take over the telecom communication in times of.
That is one part. And,
yes.
Another very more focused and specific with
That's
regard
only
to
taking over the
network.
Network.
for the security of the nation.
Correct, sir.
Both
I'm
are
talking
different.
about civil liberties.
I'll take a moment to think, sir.
That's a very important law which was passed and which was debated for nearly 3 years.
So the data protection bill.
Exactly.
Yes.
And one more act.
So the I'm not sure if the bill has been passed, the draft a broadcasting regulation bill also, in which they had brought the OTT platforms in its ambit. It also talks about the same.
Should there be right to forget?
Uh, Even though not explicitly been administered in current data protection bill, I think right to forget should be a more nuanced and more explicit provision in our bills.
Now, you are working in India now. In which vertical?
Sir, I'm a part of a team called Strategic Information Systems that run the digitalization drives.
Now, how would you assess the movement of crude prices in the recent future? How do you assess it as to how the crude prices will move, and what will be the factors which will determine it?
So the crude price factors that we've seen in case of any black swan movement like COVID or any supply chain disruptions be because of geopolitical tensions like any war or so, if there's a supply chain disruption, the prices could rise up. For example, the recent Houthis attacks in the Red Sea area has increased some amount of crude prices as well. But as we move forward in the long term, move forward towards renewable energy, and so these factors could also impact in how the
Why is it
convention.
that there was no substantial increase in crude prices even though the Ukraine war was happening? The Gaza issue had been happening since the 7th of October.
Correct, sir.
But there had not been any abnormal significant increase. In fact, it was a bit depressed, and the OPEC Plus were worried.
Correct.
Why? Give me one major reason.
Sir, I'm not really sure if it's the most major thing, but I think the Asian premium has come down, where Russia had
The demand
cheapened.
factor, overall international economy, and especially China,
Correct, sir.
is basically the demand factor.
Correct, sir.
Am I right? Or is it something else?
I'll have to read upon this, sir.
Now, my last question is, is it in the strategic interest of India to have a strong and stable Pakistan or a weak and unstable Pakistan? And what are the reasons for it?
Sir, I think a strong Pakistan is in more benefit towards India rather than a weak Pakistan.
Reasons?
So reasons when any country, which is especially a neighbor, becomes weak, the other parties which are stakeholders in the geopolitical arena will try to lead that particular region. For example, China. So a weaker Pakistan is more vulnerable to our past enemies. So
What are the immediate threats from Pakistan, and how would that be affected? What is one basic threat from Pakistan apart from outright war?
Sir,
One threat which is continually happening on a continuous basis.
Sir, drugs and arms trades are two of the important.
Terrorism.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Now, would that increase or decrease with a stable or a weak Pakistan?
So that would increase with the terror attacks would increase with a weaker Pakistan.
Why?
The law and order as well as the normal governance for the people and insurgents will take a toll. So they would, when there is normlessness, that would be seen in the manifestation will be seen in terrorist attacks. So a weaker Pakistan, both in terms of socio-political as well as economic domain.
It will be in the interest of the unstable ruling dispensation to show the public a strong face by increasing the terrorist threats. Am I right? It will be in the interest of an unstable ruling dispensation to give a strong face to the domestic public by increasing the terrorists.
Not exactly.
I'm just making a statement. It's not supposed to be right or wrong.
Correct, sir. To an extent, yes. But I think the present government in Pakistan also has taken a stance where they were on to channelize their resources for the law and order and economic development. And
But the terrorist threats have increased, have they not?
they have, sir. But I think it's been time that they have also realized that they cannot always pursue terrorism as a way to be relevant, and economic development is the way forward.
Okay, thank you.
Animesh,
Yes, sir.
you come from Angul.
Yes, sir.
What is it famous for, Angul? What is so special about Angul?
So Angul is an industrial town where you see a lot of industrial companies that have come up, including Mahanadi Coalfields Limited in Talcher, which is a subsidiary of Coal India Limited.
So
That
other than coal industry, what other industries are the main industry of Angul?
Sir, we have Nalco, which deals with aluminium and bauxite. We have NTPC, the thermal power plant. We also have Tata Steel and Tata Power. The Tata Bhushan was originally there. They have taken it over and made it Tata Steel as well. So steel industry has also come up.
Why steel industry come up in Angul? There is one JSPL's steel plant also.
Yes, sir. So the adjoining districts, including Kendujhar and Sundargarh, have iron-rich districts. So it becomes logistically more important and more efficient for Angul to have a steel plant because of its proximity to the iron-rich areas, including Kendujhar mines, like the Budbil mines in Kendujhar and Sundargarh mines
So
area.
it has basically all the inputs.
Yes, sir.
Coal is there,
Yes, sir.
iron ore is there,
Correct, sir.
and a lot of
Water resources are also abundant.
All right, good. You were talking about energy, and since you are working for Indian Oil, so if I ask you to compare electric vehicle versus internal combustion engine versus hydrogen cells, how will you do that? And in next 5 years' time, where do you see India in these three areas: electric vehicle versus ICT versus hydrogen cell?
Correct. So even though there has been a lot of push towards EVs, we like for example last year we had sold around 3.3 lakhs of EVs in India, but the achievement that was anticipated through FAME 1 and FAME 2 policies are still there's a lot of scope of improvement for that. So I see a shift from the conventional combustible engines to EVs and then to hydrogen-based engines. But there are a lot of shortcomings that we have to
By
mitigate.
what time you think the majority of the passenger vehicle would be electric vehicle or hydrogen vehicles?
So by 2030, we can see a major penetration of EVs, both in public and private transportation.
Okay, if that is the case, then why Toyota is not coming out with the electric vehicles?
Sir, I'll have to read about Toyota's case, but what I can anticipate is that earlier there was a lukewarm response from the consumers themselves because with EVs there are issues with respect to the charging infrastructure.
And what are the issues with hydrogen power?
Sir, hydrogen economy is still rising up in India and it's not in a viable situation with the electrolyzer problem we have. We do not have much capacity for electrolyzer production. And a lot of hydrogen that we are producing are still brown or black hydrogen. Green hydrogen policy also have come up, has not been substantiated to a lot extent.
I observe that you have opted for foreign service as number 2 choice.
Right, sir.
So can you, suppose you had to explain to your mother about the conflict of Palestinians and the Israelis, how will you explain that? What is the origin? What is the basic? Why they are fighting?
Correct.
Not as a nation. I'm saying about Palestinians versus Israelis, the Jews.
So if I have to explain this to my mother, who might not have a lot of context to geopolitical relations, I'll tell her that first of all, religion forms a very important basis to everyone's day-to-day lives. So that particular place is devotional and religiously important, and that's why that particular land is being debated upon. Secondly, the historical context from Ottoman Empire
And
period.
because of the religion.
Sir, as in Jerusalem and West Bank is a holy place for both Jews and Arab world as well as Christians as well. So it has a religious significance
You
for.
have to go back into past. How did it start?
Right. So, sir, during Turks, when they were Ottoman Empire
It
was.
came much later.
So,
Even before the Jews came to this place, who were the inhabitants of this area?
Exactly. Sorry, sir. Yeah. So the Arabs were the original inhabitants of that. After the Balfour Declaration in 1970s, and then the UN
I was
resolutions.
talking about say 1000 BC or
Okay.
1500 BC.
Okay. I'll have.
And there is a written reference of this area in some of the letters and the Amarna letters. Have you come across Amarna letters?
I have not, sir. I'll read upon it.
Okay. What is this two-state theory?
Yes, sir. So, two-state theory was conceptualized in Oslo Records, where we advocated that the Palestine as well as Israel will cohabitantly and coexistently will exist, and even Palestinian Liberation Organization was given observer status in UN, and India has been an advocate and proponent of the
So
same
why
as
it
well.
is not being implemented in letter and spirit?
Sir, there are both the interest of Palestinians and Israelis in contrast, where Israel still do not recognize Palestine as a sovereign nature, and if you see the amount of space that Palestinian people were occupying, that has compressed to a large extent. So that has resulted in insurgency activities where they want to claim and more land and disperse to wider populations and do not just limit themselves to the Gaza Strip and West Bank. So it's a antagonistic nature of both Palestine and Israel.
Animesh, do you think it's a good idea to give reservation and continue with this concept of reservation, say for scheduled caste or scheduled tribe?
I believe, sir, the reservation policy should continue for the marginalized sections, including scheduled caste and scheduled tribes, because we still have not come to a place where people have to go through their ascribed disprivileges in socio-economic milieu. But having said that, I think a lot of other scientific studies about the cost effects and outcomes of these reservations have to be studied, so that even in Article 340 and the Rohini Committee has also substantiated that the surveys have to be more streamlined and more periodic, so that we understand whether the right targeting of these beneficiaries is being done or not. So
No, but here we are not talking about giving the benefits of the welfare scheme to scheduled caste. I'm just saying reservation. For that, if a person is a scheduled caste, he can get a benefit of being of reservation.
So I think with reservation comes representation as well. So when we're advocating for affirmative actions, we are also increasing the representation of marginalized section, which is important to make our workplaces or
So
education.
you are advocating that this should continue.
Yes, sir, I do.
All right, very good. Now, my last question, that if you can think of some scheme to take care of concerns of scheduled caste, what would be that scheme?
Sir, I think a lot of in India we have a peculiar case of both caste and class going in harmony. So the schemes that I would like to target is for their economic upliftment, and with economic upliftment, a lot of other problems could be solved parallelly as well. With that, economic as well as socio-indicator factors should be taken into account.
No, you are giving me some philosophical kind of a scenario. I'm asking if you are to address their concern. So,
Correct.
what scheme would you like to propagate?
So we already have a lot of schemes, including priority sector lendings. We have.
Thank you, Animesh. I'll request my
Thank you, sir.
to take over.
Good afternoon, Animesh.
Good afternoon, sir.
You have done computer science engineering. Good. You must be having a laptop, surely.
I do, sir.
Right. And processor is a very important part of any laptop or computer system. Have you ever tried to see which company processor is there installed in your laptop? Which laptop you have, by the way? Which brand?
I have HPs, sir.
HP. Did you ever see the, especially while buying, you must have made a decision.
Right, sir.
So did you see the processor, which company processor it was?
So I have an Intel processor,
You have an Intel processor. Which generation, please?
5th generation.
So it is i5?
i5, yes, sir.
Okay, that's good. Do you think USA will, as is the statement of minister,
Honorable Minister on the internet also. Will USA give technology transfer of the chip technology to us? And are we capable of developing it?
So the present status quo, we have a lot of way to go to have our indigenous brand which could achieve the capabilities of Intel or other brands. But I think USA's and India's relationship in technological domain is at its best position as compared to any earlier times. So it is in their interest as well if they diversify their technology transfer to India so that they could have their base at Indo-Pacific. So I think there's with a
In
lot
which
of
countries is the processor manufactured?
so the processor goes through a global value chain where we
Talking about microprocessors.
so Korea and Taiwan have a huge
Korea, Taiwan, and USA.
yes, yes, sir.
In fact, that is a high value item
Correct,
which
sir.
they don't want to easily give because it earns them a lot of foreign exchange.
Yes.
There is some issue, these processors. Physically, they are made up of silicon, right?
Yes, sir.
What is the problem that India can't achieve those purity levels to make a processor, a chip?
Sir, we do not have a lot of like the electronics manufacturing in India. It's still booming. It's a sunrise sector. So economy of scale is one of the issues that we have. And second, the raw materials issue that we have been facing.
More than economy is the technology part
Yes,
of it.
sir.
You know, even gold,
Yes, sir.
0.99 gold, that purity levels we achieve only abroad.
Correct,
India
sir.
gold is 0.95,
Correct, sir.
95%. So the technology, the purity part is one of the determinants of advanced technology which they have. Okay. You work in the Python and R languages?
I write my codes in Python.
In Python, that's
Yes, sir.
very good. You know something about data analytics also?
Yes, sir, I do.
You're working there also?
That's the major area where I work on, data analytics and machine learning.
What is the difference between Tableau and Python?
So Tableau is a data visualization tool and Python is a programming language. So your code, after it's being implemented, you have to show the results. You have to use Tableau for that.
Indian railway reservation system has never failed. You know, for one berth, you will never get 2 tickets. Never seen, I have at least never heard of it.
Right, sir.
Which language they are working in?
Sir, I'm not really sure, but
They work in Oracle. Their locking system is very good.
Right, sir.
Right? Okay. Now, just a personal question. I see from your def in your zone 4, just a personal question. You have given first place to Assam, Meghalaya and not West Bengal, even though it's neighboring Odisha more.
Right, sir.
So, what could be the reason, personal, honest reason?
Assam Meghalaya is better than West Bengal. I belong to that cadre.
That is welcome. That is welcome.
Sorry.
No, that's welcome. I want to know his mind.
No, I'm just.
Do
Sir,
you think it's a so-called, as it comes in the press, bad law and order? Or, give your honest opinion. After you have given it a higher,
Right.
not only 1, it's 1 and 3.
right. Sir, I have been to West Bengal a couple of times, especially Durgapur once and Kolkata a couple of times. I really love Bengali culture and the state. But since it was more of a professional discussion, I seeked advices from the people who are working
That's
both at
exactly
Assam and
what
West
I wanted
Bengal.
to know. What was the professional excellence in Assam which West Bengal did not have?
So they said the scope of work that would get the kind of diversity you will have, Assam will provide you a more better opportunity to work for the people.
Okay, now it is, what are the, sorry sir, I don't, never wanted to.
Observation, I must say.
Sir, thank you. What are the major macroeconomic variables? Macroeconomic variables, not macro.
So with respect to Indian economy?
Yeah, obviously. Yeah, I stand corrected.
Correct, sir. So our consumption level, government investments, And
No, like which are the indicators? You know, something like GDP, growth rate.
yes, the amount, the nominal GDP, real GDP growth, the fiscal deficit,
Very good. Balance of
debt,
payment.
balance of payments,
Very
forex
important
reserves.
is unemployment rate.
Yes, sir. That
Do you give more importance to the unemployment or employment rate vis-a-vis the GDP?
Ideally we should, sir, but the common narrative that's always been we have seen with GDP growth and not with respect to the quality of life and income distribution as well as unemployment ratio, but that should be given due diligence, sir.
GDP may be increasing, but the employment, when a person gets food, only then he is more happy. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Enforcement Directorate nowadays is quite a bit in the newspaper. It was reported few months back that out of 121 cases being actively pursued by the Enforcement Directorate, you know the act which they operate? PML,
Yes, sir.
Prevention of Money Laundering.
Laundering, yes.
So 115 were those, as cited in the paper, were relating to the opposition parties or opposition party members.
Right.
Don't you look
Correct.
that something very disturbing to see?
Sir, I agree there have been accusations that like bodies like EDs have been used to crack down upon opposition parties. But
Suppose you are made of the director of enforcement director, right? What would you do to improve this image?
Sir, the brand building of these institutions is important where we say the basis of the investigations being carried out. Even though it does not matter, even though it comes from opposition parties or the ruling party, if the plaintiffs and the basis of investigations are proper, then I think the EDs...
Do you have any feeling that they are working at the directions of somebody not from the enforcement directorate but on some other directions, maybe political?
Sir, I don't think that it's completely on just for popular politics, but institutional backing is also there.
Okay, while you were in Delhi, you worked in Delhi, which are the museums you saw here?
So I went to the National Museum. Apart from that, I have gone to PM Sangrahalaya as well.
That's very good. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, Animesh, what it means, what is the meaning of your name? Animesh.
Sir, Animesh mean who does not close his eyes completely. So that means who is more alert and with an undivided attention.
Okay, I think, a lot of ground has been covered. Let's discuss something about Odisha. Okay?
So,
Tell me about, the Mission Shakti program. Next half a minute about Mission Shakti program.
So the Mission Shakti program will continue 2 decades of operation now, where they have implemented on-ground SHG program, where a lot of women at the rural and they collaborate and improve the thrifting program, as that leads to A, asset creation, and B, the rural employment and especially women empowerment has been achieved through Mission Shakti program.
Do you think there is some, subtle difference between women empowerment and women-led development?
Yes, sir. I believe there's a difference where women-led development breaks the glass ceiling that has, and they take up the leadership positions. But in women development, we see that it's a percolating and trickle-down approach where women development becomes an ancillary concept to the overall general concept of development. And I assume the women-led development is something that we should look forward to.
Okay. Now, I think, your choice number 1 is Indian Administrative Service. Choice number 2 is, I think, it is Indian Foreign Service.
Yes.
But Indian Police Service is choice number 5. Why?
Sir, with all due respect, if given a chance to serve in an Indian Police Service, this would be a dream come true. But just given a preference, I felt my personal and professional acumen will incline towards Indian Revenue Service more as compared to Indian Police Service.
What is that trigger? What is that motivation?
So it's just a preferential choice. It's just I read through the job profile, what kind of work I would be dealing with, the opportunities I will have. So IRS excited me more as compared to IPS, but it's equally exciting and it's something that I would look forward to if given a chance as well.
Okay, now let's come a little bit, I will take you to Indian Foreign Service. What is that seminal contribution of India to promote the Global South during the G20, India as the presidency, to promote Global South, or the voice of Global South, you can say?
Sir, India's advocacy in inducting African Union into G20
Great.
Was one of the important decisions.
What else?
Secondly, we had during the G20 summit itself, we had extended our digital public infrastructure to African as well as Latin American nations as well, which improves their empowerment. Thirdly, Biofuel Alliance was also one of the features to that. We had also talks with Brazil to include India as in the Mercosur FTA, Preferential Trade Agreement PTA. So that imbibes also India as one of the leaders. And also third, the India Middle East corridor was also conceptualized. That improves the entire trade network, both the forms a bridge between north as well as south part of the continents as well.
Okay, I will take you a little bit opinion-based question. We did so much to promote Global South, but recently, to get that UNESCO,
Yes, sir.
Pakistan got it,
Right.
India lost it. What is your take? Why it happened?
So it's a concerning act that it was a huge margin in which India lost to Pakistan for that UNESCO vice president side. But I think it cannot be oversimplified with just one seat. We have seen that India's voice have been supported at various forums, be it UNESCO or other UN sites. So just one defeat could not dictate and ask questions about credibility of being the voice of the Global South.
Okay, I will take you a little bit, to a sensitive question. A person belonging to Indian Administrative Service who was working with the political masters in Odisha resigned from the service and joined that very political party. What is your take? Are you familiar with the development?
I'm familiar with the recent happenings, sir. Sir, I think the Constitution itself provides us liberty to fight for elections or join any political party as a part of fundamental right as well. And the former is not a fundamental right, of course. But the growing politicization and bureaucracy is not admirable to an extent, I say. But since he has now resigned from his post and then got inducted, so it's more ethically right, I think. But I think there has to be a line between bureaucracy and politics so that impartiality could be the guiding light for them.
My last question. There are 3 programs relating to, farmers' welfare. And 2 states, PM Kisan at the national level. Are you familiar about
Yes,
this
sir,
very
I
scheme?
am.
And the Kalia scheme of the government of Odisha and the Rait Bandhu of Telangana. If you have to place it in orders of priorities, which one is your preferred option? Kalia, Rait Bandhu, and PM Kisan.
Sir, I would rank Kalia as a first. And
Why?
Then, so because it does not just cover the agricultural landholding farmers, but also the sharecroppers and landless, and even the elderly vulnerable population too. So the coverage is more targeted and concentrated toward vulnerable section. Raitu Bandhu scheme also has a similar concept, but PM Kisan, which provides 6,000 amount of money to the rural agricultural household, only concentrates on the one who has land. So a lot of them do not get a due share. Those who do not own land or are sharecroppers, who rather are in more need of upliftment. So I think Kalia Yojana is something that Odisha can inspire to rest of the country.
Okay, relating to agriculture. How you want to remember, the year 2023? What is the significance?
With respect to agriculture, it's International Year of Millets.
Okay.
And both at country as well as Odisha specifically have taken a lot of steps to make millet bring to the normal populace, which have always been a part of our agriculture as well household, but it has become more prominent with a lot of schemes. The Odisha Millet Mission, as well as in the budget also we have Annashri and Research Development Center for millets. And even in urban populaces now, millets have become a household name today. So I think with the entire socio-cultural promotional activities that are coming with millet, it solves a lot of problems for us.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.